The wind carried stories in the Wild West, stories of gunmen, gold, and greed, but on the far edge of the New Mexico desert, it carried something much softer, something people rarely spoke of aloud, loneliness. And on this particular afternoon, loneliness followed Elara Mayfield like a shadow. She stood outside Red Hollow's general store, her worn dress swaying as the dust swirled around her boots. People walked past, men tipping hats to other women, women whispering behind gloves, and old ranchers nodding to one another, but not a single person looked her way. Not really, they only looked enough to judge. She's the one whose fiancé ran off with her best friend, someone murmured. She's cursed, I tell you. 3 engagements lost, and 2 fellas moved out of the county soon after, another whispered. She ain't marriage material. That girl brings trouble. Elara lowered her gaze, pretending the whispers didn't sting. Pretending she wasn't used to it. But pretending still hurt. Inside the store, she paid for coffee beans with hands trembling more from emotion than from the cold of morning. She was 29, nearly considered a spinster, and she had stopped hoping for tenderness, for affection, for a life where someone might want her simply for being herself. As she stepped onto the rickety wooden porch, she nearly collided with someone tall, someone whose shadow blocked the sun. A man stood before her, leaning casually against a post, hat low over sharp, steady eyes. His name was Rowan Hale, though most folks in town called him the Lone Rancher. He owned miles and miles of land but lived far outside Red Hollow, too far for gossip to reach him and too stubborn to care even when it did. Rowan tipped his hat slightly. "Morning, Miss Elara." Her pulse skipped. "Good morning, Rowan." He didn't speak again. Rowan Hale spoke only when necessary, which meant most people had never heard more than 10 words from him. But he did something now that startled her. He held open the door for her as if she were someone worthy of gentleness. No one did that anymore. She felt heat rise to her cheeks and hurried away, clutching the coffee beans tightly. Rowan watched her go, then disappeared into the store with his usual quiet stride. And the whispers followed Elara like thorns. A heart that refused to break. Life on the Mayfield homestead was simple. Too simple. The land was stubborn, the goats were temperamental, and the only company Elara had was her father's old dog, Whiskey, who limped more than he walked. Still, she tried her best, walking before sunrise, fetching water, working the soil, patching fences. She breathed loneliness with every sunrise but wrapped it in determination at every sunset. But even determination had limits. That evening, while repairing a broken gate, Elara's hand slipped, driving a splinter deep under her skin. The pain shot through her, but she bit her lip and yanked her hand back. Frustration rose faster than tears. "Why can't anything just work?" she muttered, slamming her tools onto the ground. Whiskey flinched. Elara instantly softened, kneeling beside him. "I'm sorry," she whispered, stroking his fur. "I'm just tired. Tired of this land, tired of being alone, tired of being a reason folks whisper." Whiskey rested his head on her knee, and Elara finally let the tears come. The kind of tears that had been waiting months to fall. The rancher who saw the IFFRENTLY. The next morning, the world had changed, but someone arrived who might. A slow, rhythmic clop of hooves approached the homestead, and Elara straightened in alarm. No one visited her, ever. Rowan Hale dismounted, dusted off his hat, and approached her with that calm presence he always carried, quiet, steady, and hurried. "Gates. Broken," he observed. Elara blinked. How do you know?" "Passed by last night. Saw the boards fall." You were near my property?" she asked, startled. "ASH rugged. I write these parts." She looked at him, really looked. Rowan Hale wasn't a man of many words, but his eyes carried something powerful, something she hadn't seen in anyone else, kindness without pity. "I can fix it," he offered. She opened her mouth to refuse, to show she didn't need saving, but her throbbing, bandaged hand reminded her otherwise. If you don't mind," she murmured. He nodded once and got to work, silent as the sunrise. For an hour, Elara watched him repair the gate with patient hands and surprising gentleness. He didn't ask why her hand was bandaged. He didn't ask why her eyes looked red from crying. He didn't ask anything. When he finished, Rowan brushed off his palms and said in a low voice, "Elara, folks talk too much." She froze. Continued, they talk about me too. Say I'm strange. Say I'm heartless. Say he ain't got the nerve to settle down. That's not true, she whispered. Rowan's gaze softened. Neither is what they say about you. Something warm broke inside her, something she'd been holding together with bitterness and silence. Thank you, she whispered, voice barely holding steady. Rowan mounted his horse. If you ever need help, you send Whiskey. And knows the way to my ranch. Elara laughed softly. Whiskey barely knows how to walk straight. Rowan smirked. Dog's smarter than folks give him credit for. And with that, he rode off, leaving Elara staring after him with an unfamiliar flutter inside her chest. Hope. The day everything changed. A week later, Red Hollow's annual autumn harvest dance lit up the town. Lanterns hung across the main street, musicians played fiddles, and couples spun around the square under the warm glow of evening. Elara stood alone near the edge, leaning against a wagon. She had promised herself she wouldn't come. And yet, she had shown up anyway, hoping perhaps this year would be different. But it wasn't. Men danced with younger women, more popular women, women who didn't carry the weight of old gossip. No one approached Elara, not even to ask how she was doing. She tried to smile through it, but each passing minute chipped away at her heart. Guess some girls just ain't meant for love, she overheard a woman say behind her. Elara felt the sting like a bullet. She turned away, ready to leave. But before she could take a step, the music quieted. Conversations died down. A strange hush fell, because Rowan Hale had entered the square. Stood tall, hat low, coat dusty from travel. The lone rancher almost never attended town events. His presence turned every head. He walked with purpose. Toward her. Elara's breath caught. Rowan stopped in front of her and extended his hand. Dance with me. The words were steady, clear, and louder than any gossip. The crowd froze. Someone muttered, why her? Someone else whispered, what's he thinking? But Rowan ignored them all. His eyes stayed on Elara, warm, focused, unwavering. Her heart thudded painfully. Rowan, people are watching. Let them, he said quietly. You deserve to be seen. Her throat tightened, and she placed her hand in his. The dance was slow, gentle, and filled with more sincerity than she'd felt in years. Rowan held her carefully, as if she were precious, not cursed, not unwanted, not a burden. For the first time in a long time, Elara felt like she mattered. When the music ended, Rowan didn't step away. Instead, he spoke loud enough for the crowd to hear. No man wanted her for marriage. I've heard the rumors. I've heard the lies. He paused, then added with steel in his voice, but if they can't see her worth, that's their loss. Elara's eyes widened. Rowan turned to her again, voice softening. Elara Mayfield, if no man wants you for marriage, then, exhaled, vulnerability flickering across his features for the first time. Then just be mine. The square fell silent. Elara felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming power of being chosen. Truly chosen, she whispered. Rowan, are you sure? Smiled faintly. I've never been surer of anything. What love can mend? Their courtship wasn't rushed. Rowan visited the Mayfield homestead often, helping with chores, teaching Elara how to manage livestock, and fixing things she'd stopped believing could be fixed. In return, Elara brought warm MTH into Rowan's quiet world, cooking meals to share, tending to his ranch when he was away, and reminding him that solitude didn't have to be a lifelong sentence. But soon, a twist came that neither of them expected. One fateful afternoon, the town's well collapsed, leaving Red Hollow without water. Panic spread fast. Families struggled, ranchers argued, and people feared drought more than anything. Rowan rode into town, surveyed the broken well, and said simply, I have water on my land. Enough for everyone. A murmur rippled through the crowd. You'd share it? Someone asked skeptically. Rowan nodded. On one condition. People stiffened. He pointed to Elara, who stood behind him confused and worried. You treat her with respect, Rowan said. No more rumors. No more cruelty. No more whispers behind her back. The crowd was stunned. A few men stepped forward, men who used to avoid Elara. You'd help the whole town, just to protect her. One man asked. Rowan's answer was simple. She showed me kindness when she had none to spare. The least I can do is return it. The townsfolk exchanged guilt-ridden glances. By that evening, wagons lined up near Rowan's ranch, filling buckets and barrels with water. And for the first time, people thanked Elara too, truly thanked her, for her compassion, her resilience, and for being the reason Rowan offered such generosity. Elara realized then how one act of compassion could ripple outward, touching lives she never thought she'd matter to. A heart HEALED. Weeks later, Rowan brought Elara to a hilltop overlooking both their lands. The sunset painted the horizon in gold and crimson. Elara, said quietly, you've spent your life hurrying what men didn't want. But I want something different. She turned toward him, heart pounding. Rowan knelt slowly, pulling out a small silver ring, simple, modest, but crafted by his own hands. I don't want you because others didn't. I want you because you're strong. Because you're kind. Because you saw me, long before anyone else ever tried. Emotion crashed through her like a wave. No man wanted me, she whispered softly, remembering the years of rejection. Rowan looked up at her with unwavering devotion. Then just be mine. Elara's breath broke into a sob. She dropped to her knees, THREW her arms around him, and whispered, I've been yours long before you asked. He held her tight, and for the first time in their lives, both felt truly chosen. An ending that felt like a beginning. Red Hollow changed after that. People no longer whispered about Elara, they admired her. Children waved when she rode into town. Women sought her advice. Men tipped their hats with genuine respect. Rowan's generosity during the drought became a legend, and Elara's quiet strength became the heart of every story told near the town's campfires. Their wedding was small, simple, and full of warmth, the kind of warmth that heals old wounds and turns them into something beautiful. Rowan couldn't take his eyes off her, not even for a moment. And Elara, she walked down the aisle not as the girl no one wanted, but as the woman who had been chosen by the one man whose love meant everything. Final message. The world often decides people's worth far too quickly, based on rumors, past mistakes, or moments of misfortune. But kindness changes everything. Rowan's compassion transformed Elara's life. Elara's strength transformed Rowan's world. And together, they proved a simple truth. Love isn't about who wants you. It's about who says you. Who chooses you. Who stays. And sometimes, that one person is all you ever needed.